The ice moon of Glaciara was beautiful, but dangerous. Commander Teo stood at the window of the human exploration ship called Artemis and looked down at the white world below. Everything was covered in thick ice and snow. The planet sparkled like a giant diamond in the darkness of space. Teo had been exploring space for 20 years, but he had never seen anything as beautiful as this place. "Sir, the weather is clear," said Minji, the engineer who controlled the ship. "We can land safely. The sensors show no signs of large animals in the landing area." Teo nodded. This was why they had come here. Scientists had detected strange crystal formations on this moon, and the human government wanted to understand what they were. Perhaps there was something valuable here. Perhaps there was something new to learn. Either way, Teo was excited to explore. Dr. Heywan was also excited. She was the ship's xenobiologist, which meant she studied living things that might exist on other worlds. She checked her equipment 3 times before getting ready to go down to the surface. She wore a thick suit that protected her from the cold. The temperature outside was so low that human skin would freeze in minutes without protection. Mechanic Hyun Seo was ready too. He carried tools and equipment that could help them understand anything they found on the ice moon. He was a strong man with a kind face. He had been to dangerous places before, but he was always careful. The 3 of them got into a small landing ship and flew down to the surface. The descent was smooth. The ship landed gently on the ice, and a small cloud of snow rose around them. When they opened the door, the cold hit them like a wall, but their suits protected them, and soon they were walking on the frozen ground. Everything was white and empty. They could see for many miles across the ice plains. There was nothing but ice and snow and rock in the distance. "The crystals should be about 2 kilometers to the north," said Dr. Heywan, checking her scanner. "Let us go." They walked for almost an hour. Their boots made crunching sounds in the frozen snow. Then they saw it. Ahead of them, the ice shimmered with colors. There were crystal formations that looked like trees made of glass. They were blue and purple and green. It was the most beautiful thing any of them had ever seen. "This is incredible," whispered Dr. Heywan. "Look at the structure. This is completely new. Science has never seen anything like this." They were so busy looking at the crystals that they did not notice the shadow moving across the ice. Hyunseo felt it first, a strange vibration in the ground. He turned and saw something moving in the distance. At first it looked like a hill, but then it moved closer and they could see it was actually an animal. A very, very large animal. "Commander," said Hyunseo quietly, "we have company." The creature was enormous. It had thick white fur that covered its entire body. It looked like a mix between a bear and something else, something that had never existed on Earth. Behind it, there were more of these creatures, a whole family of them. "Stay calm," said Teo. "Let us not make sudden movements. These are living creatures, and they seem to be passing through." But one of the smaller ones, a young cub, became curious. It was not as big as the others, but it was still larger than a human. The cub walked toward them slowly. Its black eyes were interested, not angry. It sniffed the air and made a soft, rumbling sound. "It is friendly," said Dr. Heywan. "Look at its body language. It is not attacking." The cub got closer. It walked right up to Hyunseo and sniffed his suit. Then it reached out with its large paw and touched his equipment. The cub was gentle, but very curious. It wanted to know what this strange thing was. But then something bad happened. The cub's paw caught on a sharp piece of equipment that Hyunseo was carrying. It was a tool holder with sharp edges. The cub's paw was not protected by its fur in that spot, and the sharp metal cut the soft skin underneath. The young Quelac cub screamed. It was a terrible sound, full of pain and surprise. The cub jumped back and fell onto the ice. Its paw was bleeding, and its small body began to swell very quickly around the cut. The swelling spread across its arm and up toward its shoulder. The mother Quilax saw what happened. She roared a sound so loud that it made the humans cover their ears even inside their protective suits. She was not curious anymore. She was angry. She was protecting her baby. All the other Quilax responded to her call. They turned and looked at the humans. They moved closer and closer. Their eyes were cold. They were not friendly anymore. "Run," said Teo. "Back to the ship, now." They turned and started running across the ice. Behind them, the mother Quilax roared again and charged forward. The other creatures followed her. The humans' boots slipped on the ice as they ran. The sound of heavy hooves hitting the ground grew louder and louder, but then Dr. HFY stopped running. "I cannot leave it," she said. "HFY, move," said Teo, grabbing her arm. "It will die," said the doctor. She was looking back at the little cub. Its body was swelling more and more. The swelling was moving up its neck now. "Commander, I can help it. I have medicine that can reduce the swelling. We can help it." "They will kill us," said Hyunseo. "Then I will die trying to save a life," said Dr. HFY. She pulled her arm free from Teo's grip and ran back toward the injured cub. The commander and the mechanic watched in horror. The mother Quilax was getting very close. But then something strange happened. The mother stopped. She saw Dr. HFY running toward her baby, not away. The human was not trying to attack. The human was running toward the hurt child, not running away. The herd of massive creatures stopped moving. They watched. Dr. HFY reached the cub. The young animal was in bad pain. Its whole face was swollen now. It could barely open its eyes. The doctor was shaking, but she was brave. She took her emergency medical kit from her pack. Inside was an ice pack that humans used for their own injuries. She activated it, and it became very cold. Very carefully, she placed the ice pack against the swelling on the cub's shoulder and arm. The young Quilax made a sound, but not a scream this time. It was a sound of relief. The pain was getting better. The swelling began to go down. Within minutes, the young cub's eyes opened wider. It was breathing easier. The mother Quilax walked forward slowly. She sniffed the ice pack. She sniffed the doctor. Then she made a low, rumbling sound. It was not a roar. It was something else. It was something that sounded like respect. Dr. HFY held the ice pack against the young Quilax's swollen arm. She was very nervous, but she did not show it on her face. The mother Quilax was still watching her carefully. The large creature could attack at any moment. But something told HFY that the mother was beginning to understand. The human was helping the baby, not hurting it. The swelling continued to go down. After 5 minutes, it had reduced by almost half. The young cub's eyes became clearer. It looked at the doctor with something that looked like gratitude. It made soft sounds, not painful sounds, but gentle ones. The mother touched the cub with her large snout. She sniffed the ice pack again. Then she made a long, deep sound. It was the most beautiful sound HFY had ever heard from an animal. It was not a roar or a scream. It was something that sounded musical. It sounded like singing. One by one, the other Quilax in the herd made the same sound. Their voices joined together, creating a pattern of tones that echoed across the ice plains. It was a sound of many creatures speaking at the same time, but it was not random. There was order to it. There was meaning. Teo and Hyunseo stood frozen, watching and listening. They had seen amazing things in their years of space exploration, but this was different. This was real. This was happening right in front of them. "Do you hear that?" whispered Hyunseo. "What are they saying?" "I do not know," said Teo, "but I think it is important." Dr. HFY continued to hold the ice pack. The young cub was no longer in pain. The swelling had reduced to almost normal. The cub's eyes were now open and clear. It looked at the doctor, and it seemed to bow its head slightly, like it was giving thanks. The mother Quelac moved her large body down onto the ice. She was not attacking. She was sitting. She was making a sound that could have been a purr, if bears could purr. "It is okay," Teo said into his radio. "We are safe. HFY has done something incredible." Back on the ship, Minji heard the message. She had been watching the video feed the whole time, her heart beating very fast. Now she heard relief in her commander's voice. "I am recording all the sounds they are making," said Minji. "These vocalizations are complex. I am sending them to the linguistic analysis computer." The Quelac herd continued to make the harmonic sounds for several more minutes. Then, slowly, they stopped. The mother Quelac looked at Dr. HFY one more time. The doctor was still holding the ice pack. The creature made a soft, snuffling sound and touched the doctor's suit with her nose. "She is saying, 'Thank you,'" HFY said softly. "I am sure of it." Over the next hour, the Quelac family began to move away. But they did not go far. They moved to a place where they could still see the humans, but they were not threatening. The mother stayed very close to her cub, and the cub kept looking back at Dr. HFY with something that seemed like gratitude in its eyes. Tayo led his team back to the landing ship. They were still alert, but they were not in immediate danger anymore. "What just happened?" asked Hyun-seo as they walked. "Something important," said HFY. "That creature was injured, and I helped it. I think the mother understands that now." They arrived at the ship and went inside. The door sealed behind them, and they were safe in the warmth and shelter of the vessel. Minji was waiting for them when they came back. She looked excited and worried at the same time. "The linguistic analysis is complete," she said. "Commander, you need to hear this." She played the recording of the Quelac sounds. The computer had analyzed the patterns and frequencies. Below the recording, words appeared on the screen. The computer was translating the Quelac language into human words. What the translation said made all of them stop and stare. "Healing magic," Minji read aloud. "Divine power. The human heals without weapons. The human heals with care. The small one is blessed. The human is blessed." There was silence in the ship. "The computer is guessing," said HFY. "The meaning is not perfect, but if it is even close to correct." "They think you performed magic," said Minji. "They think you have divine power." "But I only used ice," said HFY. "Any doctor could do what I did." "They do not know that," said Tayo. His voice was quiet, and he was thinking. "To them, what you did was beyond their understanding. What you did seemed like magic." "What do we do?" asked Hyun-seo. Before anyone could answer, the sensors on the ship started beeping. Minji looked at the screens. "Commander," she said slowly, "we have a situation. More Quelacs are arriving, many more. They are coming from all directions. There are hundreds of them, maybe thousands." Everyone went to the window and looked out. It was true. Across the white ice plains, large, furry shapes were moving toward their position. Some came from the north. Some came from the south. Some came from the east and the west. They moved slowly and carefully, but they were definitely coming toward the ship. "They are not attacking," said Minji, checking the scanner. "Their body language does not show aggression, but they are definitely trying to get closer to us." "To me," corrected HFY. "They are trying to get closer to me." Teo made a decision. "We will stay here in the ship for now. We will observe. We will document everything, but we will not shoot. We will not attack. These creatures have done us no harm. One of them was injured, and one of us helped it. That is all that happened." As the night fell on Glaciara, the Quelac herd gathered around the ship. There were so many of them that the humans could not count them all. They moved in patterns, almost like they were dancing. Sometimes they would look up at the ship's lights and make those beautiful harmonic sounds. And then something else happened. The Quelacs began to swell. It started with the ones closest to the ship. Small bumps appeared on their bodies. At first, Heywan thought it was just her imagination. But then the swelling grew. It appeared on their shoulders, their arms, around their eyes. The swelling was not the same as the young cub's injury. This was different. This was something else entirely. They are experiencing a physiological response, Heywan said, her scientific mind trying to understand. But to what? Minji came closer to the window. Look at them, she said. They are not in pain. Look at how they move. They seem happy. It was true. The swollen quilax were making the harmonic sounds. They were moving gently and carefully. They were not suffering. They seemed proud of the swelling, like it was something important, like it was something sacred. I think, said Teo slowly, that they believe the swelling is a sign of the magic you used on them, or a sign of your blessing. But that is not possible, said Heywan. The ice pack was only on one cub. They do not know that, said Minji, and they cannot know it. To them, you performed a miracle. Now they believe that being near you, being near your healing magic, has given them the swelling. And they think the swelling is a gift. As the night continued, more and more quilax arrived, and as more arrived, more began to swell. The phenomenon spread like a wave across the herd. The humans watched in amazement and confusion as an entire civilization began to change before their eyes, all because of one act of kindness and one ice pack. The morning came, and the situation had become much worse, or much better. Teo was not sure which one it was. There were now thousands of quilax surrounding the ship. The entire landscape was filled with their large white bodies, and almost all of them were swollen. The swelling was visible everywhere, around their eyes, on their shoulders, along their arms and legs. Some of them had swelling on their necks and faces. It looked like every quilax within 100 miles had developed the mysterious swelling. This is very bad, said Dr. Heywan. She had not slept all night. She had been studying the data, trying to understand what was happening. Commander, I think I made them sick. The ice pack must have carried some kind of disease or chemical. I was trying to help, but I hurt them instead. Do not blame yourself yet, said Teo. We do not know what is happening. Minji, send a probe down to collect tissue samples from one of the closest quilax. We need to analyze what this swelling is. It took an hour for the probe to collect the samples and return to the ship. Once the samples were in the laboratory, Dr. Heywan and Hyunseo began to examine them under the powerful microscopes. What they found was shocking. There is no disease, said Heywan, staring at the screen. There is no virus. There is no bacteria. There is no chemical that should not be there. The tissue is completely normal. The swelling is real, but it is not caused by sickness. Then what is causing it? Asked Teo. I think it is psychological, said Heywan slowly. Look at the blood composition. Look at the stress hormones. These creatures are experiencing strong emotions, very strong emotions. Their bodies are reacting to something happening in their minds. Hyunseo leaned closer to the screen. They are believing something, he said. Something is causing their brains to release chemicals that make them swell. Yes, said Heywan. They think something is happening to them. They believe something is true. And their bodies are responding to that belief. Minji suddenly understood. They believe you gave them a gift, she said. They believe the swelling is a sign of divine blessing, and their bodies are creating the swelling because they expect it to happen. There was silence in the ship. All of them were thinking about what this meant. How is that even possible? Asked Hyunseo. How can a belief cause a physical change? The human mind can do this, said Heywan. We studied it in xenobiology. When a creature believes something strongly enough, sometimes the body will respond. If a creature believes it will swell, it swells. If a creature believes it will heal, sometimes it does. The mind controls the body more than we understand. So the Quilax saw me help one cub, said HFY. They saw something they could not explain. Something that seemed miraculous. They told the others using their harmonic language. The others heard the message and believed it. And when they believed it, their bodies began to swell, because they expected to be marked by the magic. This is incredible, said Minji. They have created a mass psychological response across thousands of creatures. Outside the ship, the Quilax continued to gather, and they continued to swell. The swelling did not hurt them. It was not getting worse. They simply had these bumps and bulges on their bodies, and they seemed to believe these bumps were signs of something important. Through the ship's speakers, Teo heard one of the Quilax make a sound. The translator was still recording and analyzing. The computer began to show words on the screen. They are saying the human female is divine, the translator read. They are saying she walks with the power of healing. They are saying all who see her are blessed. More Quilax kept arriving. They came from over the ice hills. They came from the frozen valleys. Some seemed to travel from very far away. They were all coming to see the ship. They were all coming to see the human who had performed the miracle. But more were arriving by the hour, and more were swelling. Commander, I have something bad to tell you, said HFY. She was using the scanner to look at the Quilax outside. The swelling is spreading further than I thought. I am seeing Quilax hundreds of kilometers away. The message is traveling somehow. It is spreading across their entire species. How is that possible? Asked Teo. I think they are connected, said Minji, looking at her own data. The harmonic sounds. They are not just sounds. I think they are part of how the Quilax species communicates over long distances. Through the ground, maybe. Through the ice. I think they can send messages to other Quilax across the entire continent. So by now, said HFY quietly, every Quilax on this moon knows about the human with healing magic. Every one of them believes that the swelling is a sign of blessing. And if they all believe it strongly enough, they will all swell. Can we control this? Asked Teo. Can we stop it? I do not think so, said HFY. The belief is too strong now. The message has traveled too far. We would have to show them that it is not real magic. We would have to prove that the ice pack is just a simple tool. But they might not believe us. They might think we are lying. Outside, the harmonic sounds continued. More and more Quilax arrived every hour. The landscape for miles in all directions was now covered with the creatures. They were peaceful and calm, but they were everywhere. We have created something, said Teo. A belief, a faith, almost. And we cannot uncreate it. We cannot take back what happened. No, said HFY, but maybe we can work with it. Maybe we can try to understand it better, and maybe we can try to explain the truth in a way they will accept. As they talked, a single Quilax walked forward through the gathered herd. This Quilax was larger than the others and seemed to command respect. The other creatures made space for him to move. He walked until he was very close to the ship. The translator began to work. I am Quan Sung, the large Quilax spoke through the harmonic sounds. I lead this herd. I have come to speak with the Divine One. I have come to offer respect and to ask a question. Where did your healing magic come from? And will you teach us the secrets? The four humans in the ship looked at each other. They understood now that everything had changed. The moment Dr. HFY had applied the ice pack to save a young cub's life, a chain of events had started. A chain that could not be stopped. A chain that had brought an entire civilization to believe in human magic and human power. Now, they had to decide what to do about it. Open the communication channel, Teo said finally. It is time we talk to them, face to face. It is time we tried to help them understand what really happened. HFY put on her suit again. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was calm. She was a scientist. She was also, whether she wanted to be or not, the most important person to the Quilac civilization. She walked toward the door of the ship. Hyun Seo and Tae-o walked with her. They were going to meet the legendary Kwon Sung. They were going to begin a conversation that would change history. They did not know it yet, but this conversation would lead to the greatest alliance the human species had ever made. Dr. Haiwan stepped out of the ship. The cold air hit her through her suit. She could see the massive Quilac leader Kwon Sung standing less than 50 meters away. The creature was enormous. His shoulder was higher than her head. His eyes were dark and intelligent. He was watching her with great interest. Behind him, thousands of other Quilacs stood watching. All of them with their mysterious swelling, all of them believing that this human woman had divine power. The responsibility of this moment pressed down on Haiwan's shoulders like a great weight. She raised her hand slowly and made a gesture of peace. Kwon Sung responded by lowering his head slightly. It was a sign of respect. "Greetings, Kwon Sung," Haiwan said through the suit's speaker system. Her voice was carried across the ice. "I am Dr. Haiwan. I am not divine. I am just a human from a distant world." The large Quilac made a sound. The translator worked quickly. "You are humble," Kwon Sung said. "The truly powerful ones are always humble. This is known." "No," said Haiwan. "Listen to me. I used a tool. It is called an ice pack. It is just cold. When something swells because of injury, cold can reduce the swelling. It is not magic. It is science." Kwon Sung was quiet for a moment. Then he made a sound that might have been laughter. "What is science, if not the highest form of magic?" the Quilac asked. "You use tools we do not understand. You know secrets we do not know. You can heal wounds that would kill us. To us, this is divine power. You call it science. We call it magic. But the words are the same thing, yes?" Haiwan realized something in that moment. The Quilac leader was right, in a way. The difference between magic and science was only an understanding. What seemed like magic to someone who did not understand was just science to someone who did. "Maybe," said Haiwan, "but I want you to understand. This power is not unique to me. Any human can learn to do what I did. Any human doctor could help an injured creature with ice." "Then your species is blessed," said Kwon Sung. "All of your people have divine knowledge. This is even better. This is why we have come. This is why the swelling has spread. We believe that if we stay near your kind, we will learn. We will grow. We will become better." Over the next weeks, the situation continued to grow. More Quilacs arrived. The settlement around the human ship grew larger and larger. The humans had to expand their camp. They built new structures. They created areas for the Quilacs to be comfortable, with shelter from the worst wind and ice storms. The young Quilac cub that Haiwan had saved remained close to the doctor. The cub's name was Subin, and she had become a symbol of the cooperation between humans and Quilacs. Everywhere the cub went, people and creatures stopped to look. The cub had been touched by the Divine One. The cub had been blessed. But not all of the humans were comfortable with this new situation. "This is crazy," said Hyun Seo one day. "They think we are gods. They will be disappointed when they learn the truth. There could be violence." "Or," said Tayo, "there could be something better, something more. They believe in us. They trust us. Maybe we can use that trust to build something real, a real partnership, a real alliance." A very old female Quilac came to the camp one day. Her name was Ji Woo, and she was the elder of her tribe. She was ancient, with fur that was more gray than white. She moved slowly, but her eyes were bright and intelligent. Ji Woo asked to speak with Dr. Haiwan and Commander Tae-o together. "I have lived a very long time," Ji Woo said through the translator. "I have seen many things. I have seen droughts. I have seen storms. I have seen wars between different Quelac groups, but I have never seen anything like what is happening now. We are sorry if we have caused trouble, said Hei-Wan. No, said Ji-Woo. Listen, for 1,000 years we have lived on this world. For 1,000 years we have been divided. Different groups of Quelacs have fought each other. We have not trusted each other. But now something has changed. A human showed kindness to a child. Not because she wanted to gain power, not because she wanted to gain territory or resources, simply because she saw suffering and she acted. Ji-Woo moved closer to Hei-Wan. That is more powerful than any weapon, the old Quelac said. That is more valuable than any treasure. Your species has shown us something we had forgotten: compassion without expectation of reward, kindness without seeking power. This is what we need to remember. The elder looked at Quan Sung. The swelling is not from magic, Ji-Woo said to the other Quelacs. I think many of us know this in our hearts, but it does not matter. The swelling represents something real. It represents a change. It represents hope. Then what do we do? Asked Quan Sung. We ask them to teach us, said Ji-Woo. We offer them what we have in exchange. We offer them knowledge. We offer them partnership. We offer them friendship. We ask them to help us become better. Over the following months, humans and Quelacs began to work together. The Quelacs showed the humans where the vast underground thermal reservoirs were. These could provide heat and power for a permanent human settlement on Glaciara. The Quelacs showed the humans mineral deposits that could be valuable for human technology. In exchange, the humans shared medical knowledge. They taught the Quelacs about human science and technology. They explained how the ice pack worked. They showed that human healing was not magic, but knowledge that could be learned. A young engineer named Dae-Jun became very close to a young female Quelac named Subin, the same cub that Hei-Wan had saved. The two young creatures, one human and one Quelac, became friends. They played together on the ice. They learned each other's languages. They showed that friendship between their species was not just possible, but natural. When Taio saw Dae-Jun and Subin playing together, he understood something important. The swelling was still spreading. More Quelacs continued to appear, still believing in the human magic. But something more real was happening underneath. Something stronger than belief. A real alliance was forming, built on trust, built on respect, built on the understanding that both species had something valuable to teach the other. The ice moon of Glaciara, which had seemed empty and lifeless just weeks before, was becoming a place of transformation. The humans and Quelacs were building something new together, something that had never existed before. And it had all started with one act of kindness, one ice pack applied to a suffering child, one moment when a human doctor had chosen to help instead of running away. The swollen Quelacs continued to walk across the ice, a living symbol of the day everything changed. They were not magical. They were not blessed in a supernatural way, but they were marked by something real. They were marked by the beginning of something great, the beginning of a new era where two very different species had learned to work together. And it was just the beginning. Dr. Hei-Wan decided that it was time to tell the complete truth. The Quelac leaders had been patient and kind, but they deserved to understand what had really happened. They deserved to know that there was no magic. They deserved to know that what they believed in was just human science and human care. She prepared a demonstration. In the center of the human settlement, she set up a stage with equipment and tools. She invited all the Quelac leaders to come and watch. Quan Sung came. Ji-Woo came. Hundreds of other Quelacs gathered around to see what the Divine One had to show them. Today, Hei-Wan said, speaking so everyone could hear through the translation system, I want to show you the truth about what happened. I want to show you what the ice pack is. I want to show you how human healing works. She held up the ice pack so everyone could see it. This is water, she said. Human water, frozen very cold. That is all. When something swells because of injury, the cold makes the swelling smaller. It is not magic. It is a simple fact of how bodies work. All bodies, human bodies, Quelac bodies, any body. She asked for volunteers. A Quelac with a swollen paw stepped forward. The creature was not sick. It had no injury. But it had the swelling that came from believing in the magic. "Watch," said Haiwan. She took another ice pack and applied it to the Quelac's swollen paw. "In a few minutes, the swelling will go down a little," Haiwan explained. "Not because of magic, not because of divine power, just because cold reduces swelling, that is all." She removed the ice pack after 5 minutes. The swelling had indeed gone down slightly. "Do you see?" said Haiwan. "It is not magic. It is physics. It is how the world works. Any creature can learn this. Any creature can help another creature using ice. You do not need divine power. You only need knowledge." The Quelacs were quiet. Some of them looked disappointed. Some of them looked confused. Then Quan Sung made a sound. The translator worked. "You are not a god," the Quelac leader said. It was not a question. "No," said Haiwan. "I am not a god. I am just a scientist. I am just someone who studied how things work and how to help injured creatures." "Then the swelling is not a blessing," said another Quelac. "No," said Haiwan. "The swelling was something your minds created. You believed something would happen, and your bodies responded to that belief. It is a real thing, but it is not a gift from me. It is a gift from your own minds. Your minds are powerful, more powerful than you knew." Jiwoo moved forward. The old female Quelac looked at Haiwan with eyes that seemed to see everything. "You are telling us that there is no magic," Jiwoo said. "You are telling us that you are not divine. You are telling us that what happened was only science and belief." "Yes," said Haiwan. "That is the truth." Jiwoo was silent for a long time. Then she made a sound. It was a low, steady sound. The other Quelacs listened. "I think," Jiwoo said, "that this is even better than magic." Everyone stopped and stared at the old female. "What?" asked Haiwan. "Magic," said Jiwoo, "is something that cannot be explained. Magic is something that only special people can do. Magic is a mystery. But what you have shown us is not magic. What you have shown us is knowledge. Knowledge that anyone can learn. Knowledge that anyone can use." Jiwoo walked closer to Haiwan. "You did not come here to be a god to us," Jiwoo continued. "You came here and found a hurt child. You saw pain, and you acted. You did not ask what you would gain. You did not demand payment. You did not ask for respect or worship. You simply helped." That is more powerful than magic. That is the highest thing any living creature can do. Quan Sung made a sound of agreement. Then another Quelac made the sound. Then another. Soon, all the Quelacs were making the same sound. It was the harmonic language. It was the language of respect. "I understand now," said Quan Sung. "The swelling is not a blessing from you. The swelling is a blessing from us. It is our way of honoring what you showed us. That kindness without expectation is the most valuable thing in the universe." The huge Quelac walked toward the ice pack that Haiwan was holding. He lowered his great head and sniffed it. "We want to keep this," Quan Sung said. "We want to preserve this ice pack. We want to remember this moment forever. The moment when you taught us that the greatest power is not power at all. The greatest power is care. The greatest power is compassion." "And," said Jiwoo, "we want to keep the swelling." "What?" asked Haiwan, surprised. "Yes," said the old female. "The swelling represents the day we changed, the day we became united, the day we learned that different creatures can work together. Let all Quelacs who were here during this time carry this mark with honor, and let future generations know what it means. Over the next weeks and months, the relationship between humans and Quilax deepened. The Quilax brought teams of their strongest, smartest members. The humans taught them about medicine, technology, and science. The Quilax taught humans about their physiology, their environment, and their ways. Dr. Haywan established a medical exchange program. She trained Quilax healers in human medical techniques. In return, they taught her about Quilax biology, which was completely different from anything in human medical science. The young Quilax cub Subin became the symbol of the new era. The creature that had been injured, that had been healed, that had started everything. Subin grew strong and healthy under the care of both humans and Quilax. She became a bridge between the two species, comfortable with both, belonging to both. Dae-jun, the young human engineer, and Subin continued their friendship. They worked together to create tools that could be used by both species. They designed equipment that was comfortable for Quilax paws and human hands. They proved that cooperation was not just possible, it was easy when both sides wanted it to work. The ice pack itself became the most sacred object in Quilax culture. It was preserved and honored. It was brought to ceremonies and gatherings. Both humans and Quilax would touch it gently and remember the day everything changed. "Do you regret it?" Hyunseo asked Haiwan one day as they watched humans and Quilax working together outside the settlement. "Regret what?" asked the doctor. "Running back to help that cub," said Hyunseo. "You could have died. We all could have." Haiwan thought about this for a long moment. "No," she said finally, "I do not regret it. Because I learned something that day that I should have always known. When you see suffering, you should help. Not because you will gain power, not because you will be rewarded, but because helping is the right thing to do." She paused, watching Dae-jun and Subin building something together, their hands and paws working in perfect coordination. "And sometimes," she added, "when you do the right thing without expecting anything in return, the universe gives you something greater than you could have ever imagined. It gives you understanding. It gives you friendship. It gives you the chance to be part of something bigger than yourself." The ice moon of Glaciara had become a place of wonder, a place where two very different species had learned to trust each other, a place where kindness had created change, a place where one simple act of compassion had rippled outward and transformed an entire civilization. And it had all started with an ice pack and one human's decision to help instead of running away.